Time for another coffee with Kilroy. What? Two coffees in one day? I gotta cut back. Yes, this is D-Day week, and I am covering as much D-Day content that I can fit in. Doing coffee with Kilroy's in the morning with my continued coverage of postcard games, covering the specific 5 for Fighting series. And this is a bonus coffee with Kilroy. So, if you didn't get enough early this morning, maybe you're having a mid-morning break with beverage and a book. My beverage, of course, coffee. And my book, well, I've got several books today. I've already covered this one on D-Day itself. On June 6th, I did cover this one, and I'll put a link to that. You can take a look at that down below, so we don't need to go into this one again. But I have a couple of other books that I pulled out and wanted to take a quick look at, a gander. I found out that I didn't have a ton of D-Day books. I've read a few over the years. I tend to have either specific battle books or kind of overall survey type books, as opposed to a lot on D-Day. But I do have a few here, and so the couple more I wanted to talk about with you is Overlord, D-Day, and the Battle for Normandy. This is by Max Hastings. Max Hastings has done quite a lot of other books, war books that are out there. And this one gets relatively good praise. It's been a while since I've been through this one, but it's an interesting narrative. Apparently he reported for the BBC TV and the London Standard from more than 50 countries. He's an author of 8 books, including The Battle of the Falklands. That's another one of his books. I don't have that one, but I think I did read that at one point, where he was a co-author of that. Bomber Command, and he is at work on the book Korean War. So, of course, this was done in, I think, 1985. So I think he finished that book. But this is a decent book. It has a little bit of a different perspective on it. You've got some maps in here. If you like his style, he's got a kind of a different kind of style and he's a reporter, so he kind of has that feel to how he takes a narrative on the action, and so it's a pretty good read here. I'd love to know any of your thoughts on it. If you like this book, don't like this book, love to know your thoughts on it. I found it interesting, and that's why I've kept it. I keep all books. I kind of hoard, but I don't necessarily. I used to have a relatively not a really long commute, but I had about 50 minutes on the way and back. So 25 and 25. So that's a little bit of good windshield time, and I always like sci-fi, fantasy, but also nonfiction, and I always retain nonfiction better listening to that. So I might have listened to some of his books and some of the books on D-Day in the past that way, just a little bit of screen time or windshield time. But anyway, I found this to be an interesting book. Take a look at it, see what you think here. It's from a reporter's perspective, and so the way that he's researched it and trying to relay the actions, it's a little bit different than what you might find from let's say Omar Bradley's A Soldier's Story. Of course, that one goes into a lot more. That's more than just D-Day, and of course, it goes into the planning for D-Day and some of the behind scenes, but. And then there's several books that talk about that are from a soldier's perspective, and so they're going to give you a different feel and a different perspective. And I'm all about perspective. If you've checked out my banner picture on my website or my YouTube channel, it's all about perspective and looking at things in a different light. And so I found this book to be good in that regard. Next I have is D-Day, The Longest Day, and this is kind of like that D-Day experience book that I covered earlier. This one's supposed to be somewhat of a tactile feel with some replica documents. This one is more of a high-level overview. It's the first 24 hours, but it does a nice job of giving you again a high level overview of what's going on. You've got its color, you've got your chronology here, again relatively high level, not a lot of detail. You've got some insets in here, kind of like what you might see in an old textbook, some commentary on stuff, and then it's going to get into the beaches proper as you get in here. Let's page a little bit more here. Intelligence and resistance, that was an important part of the battle. A lot of pictures in here. Here's the Allied landings planning here. Logistics and technology, got to get into all that stuff there. And then it's going to get into the actual operation. Once we get to it here, here's where the German defenses were. So you've got some maps and diagrams. Quite a few pictures, maps and diagrams. That's always nice. But again, more of a survey type book as opposed to in-depth guide on it. Special operations, they're covering a lot of the build up to it before you get to the actual, landings themselves and all the preparation. And then you have H hour. And this is going to get into, a lot of the paradrops and gliders and the like to set up operations behind enemy lines, so to speak. Then you get into, pages are sticking there here. Boop, 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 Utah Beach. So we're just going to cover Utah Beach, which I covered earlier this week. I covered that on the first day with the postcard games. And they're going to talk a little bit about that. So it's nice little, again, this isn't the exhaustive treatment, but it gives you a good feel of what was taking place and how it was taking place with some visuals. And I'm a very visual person. Then you have Omaha Beach, which I covered on, D-Day proper. As I said, I'm more of a visual person. So, reading it is helpful, but, seeing something and tying it to helps me out. I liked this chart here. This is the landing diagram for Omaha Beach. So by sector, and by the time or hour, easy green, dog red, dog white, dog green. And so you have all this layout here. I thought that was kind of interesting. Here's your key symbols as well. I thought that was kind of interesting. I hadn't seen that chart before. And then you get into Gold Beach, Juno Beach. So they're basically doing in the same order of which I'm covering the postcard games this week. So I could have used this as a guide, but you can now. And then Sword Beach. So there you have it, and you have a little diagram here. You get a little bit of understanding. What I haven't done is taken those postcard games and kind of matched them up here and see how they fit with the maps that are on those postcards. Then you've got some kind of an epilogue here, the price, and a little bit more discussion there. There's one of the monuments or memorials. And then you got some order of battles here. That's interesting. Then an index. So there you have it. So I don't know. I just thought I'd share those. I should have more. I need to go dig around in my on my bookshelves or in my back closet and see if I have some more. But I thought those were interesting enough to bring out and have a look. This one's gotten some literary acclaim over time. But love to know your thoughts. And what should I be reading? What should other people who want to explore D-Day from a book standpoint? I'll have some coffee. What should they be reading? Should they be reading the classic, The Longest Day? Should they? I think there's a book called D-Day that's been within the last 20 years. There's a lot of books called D-Day, but I think there's even one from a German. There's a couple one from a German perspective that are in English. I think it's about 1944 assault or something like that. But what all do you recommend? You are probably much more well read than myself on this topic. Drop your top three D-Day books in the comments below. If you know, you didn't expect homework today, but I gave you a homework assignment. Drop your top three, or if you don't have three, your top, whatever number you have. And if you have 15, well, knock yourself out. But put your top D-Day books, what people should be reading, or and what different perspectives they might offer, because that's something I find interesting. Just reading the history over and over again with the generally same narrative. I don't know how much you learn from that, but if you see it from different perspectives, these from people that were on the ground, or from leadership, um, or from the German point of view, uh, uh, or historian point of view, or reporter point of view. Love to seeing those different perspectives and putting the pieces together. So, because that's what history is. History is not just one document. It's amalgamation of different perspectives to try to understand what really happened. Uh, anyway, just my perspective. Thank you for stopping by and having some coffee with me. And this was kind of a short one, but I already did coffee this morning, so you're probably definitely over caffeinated by now. I know I am. So again, thank you for stopping by. As always, the best way I know you stop by is drop me a comment, and in those comments, tell me which D-Day books I should be reading, or what other people should be reading, and why. I'd really love to hear your point of view on that, because you're probably right. Anyway, take care. Have a good one. Thanks for watching.